you. Land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge that we're on the ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people, and we want to thank the Mi'kmaq people of today for sharing these beautiful lands in Pictou County with us, whether we came 400 years ago or 4 years ago. We're all treaty people. Okay, moving right along, we have our agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dawn, seconded by?
Darrell.
Seconded by Darrell. Are there any additions or deletions from that agenda? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Are there any emergency resolutions tonight? Any emergency resolutions? Not seeing any, so we'll move along to number 6. Our minutes from our last meeting, May the 6th. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections to those minutes? Any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes of May the 6th? Any errors, omissions, or corrections to those minutes? Okay, hearing none, or seeing none, we'll approve those minutes as presented. Now we'll come to correspondence. So there's 2 letters of correspondence there for information only. Are there any comments or questions on the correspondence? Go ahead, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I have 2 questions. Excuse me. The first one is on the response we received from the Minister of Education. I'm really very disappointed with that response. We certainly do not mind advertising for the bus drivers, but I think there is more they could have put in that letter. We were looking for some answers. I think she took this situation very lightly from the municipal government. I'm very disappointed in how she responded. I think we were or at least I was looking for what they're doing isn't really working, and how are they going to improve bus drivers within the school system. I know there's buses in my area that didn't have drivers for 3 weeks, which is just unacceptable. And to get a response back like that from the minister was disappointing, to say the least. So I would like to see if we could write another letter just asking her to explain. Certainly agree with her that we will do all we can to advertise for those jobs. That is important. But also ask her what they are doing, what they plan to do to make sure this problem doesn't continue. Because I think it is very serious within our school system. And I'd ask for a seconder on that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded that we send the letter then to the Hector Central, Center for Education.
Well, I think this came from the Minister of Education. Maybe not.
Oh, you wanted to send it to the Minister
Yes.
of Education?
Yeah. I think,
Okay, Becky Drone, yeah. Okay, are there any questions on that motion or any comments on that motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And did you have another question?
Yeah, thank you. Just in the second letter, just concerning Mr. Stewart, is that something we should go in camera to discuss, or do we just do that within council here now?
Well,
I just thought it might be like a personnel issue. I had some questions concerning what happened, and I don't
Well,
want
that's
to
the
ask
advice
them
of
if
the
it should.
CAO on that one. Or not, that's what your question is.
Rises to an in-camera.
No, it doesn't rise to an in-camera.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering what prompted.
At this point, I'm going to
sorry.
ask the deputy warden to take the chair, because it involves me personally in that letter
Okay.
you're talking about.
Thank you. No, I'm just wondering what prompted looking for the information, looking for the emails. Like I thought he had, by reading the letter, he looked like he was satisfied with the response he got from NSP, but then he seemed to go further. And I'm just wondering why he took it further, like what prompted him to take it further. And secondly, as a member of council, I agree that we have to be careful what we write and what we say, and should an apology go to Mr. Stewart for what was done from a representative on our council? I guess that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, thank you. You want to answer? Or do you want to answer into that? It means you were involved in it?
Yeah, I can't answer the part about why it was taken further. I believe that was a FOIPOP application, So I don't know about that because I wasn't aware. The way FOIPOP works, you can't be made aware. But I will speak on the issue since you asked. I've been thinking about this for a few days. I only got notice of it at the same time everybody else did in their package. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me because I, like you said, thought that the issue had been settled. I hadn't heard about the FOIPOP or anything. But for 29 years, I've been an elected official in this county, both with the school board for 13 years and 16 years here. And I ran a business in this county for 50 years. I always treated everybody with respect. And I hold that very high, that's the way to deal with people, whether you're dealing with customers in the case of a business or you're dealing with clients or residents here in the county. So that I hold high and I believe in. And when Mr. Stewart called me first on this issue, and if anybody else called me yesterday on an issue, I always treat them with respect and ask them what I can do for them and let them know that I can't guarantee I can do anything, but I'll try hard to do something. So that's a cardinal, for me, a cardinal rule. But sometimes within all of our districts, I guess, there's varying types of residents, and it's the same in business. There's, you deal with all kinds of different personalities and all kinds of different people. And sometimes there's some people that are easy to deal with. They tell you what they want, you either get it or you don't, and that's the end of it. And other people can be more challenging. It's not because they're bad people, but they're more insistent on, getting what they want. And that's not a bad thing. I don't, if you use the word troublesome or you use the word challenging or whatever, I'm sure the Premier of this province many times finds me challenging and difficult to deal with. It doesn't mean we can't respect each other and work together to solve problems. But I think at the end of the day, for me, the main thing is, can we solve problems for people? Can we have a success? And in this case, we did have a success. Mr. Stewart was certainly concerned that the people had crossed over onto his line. And I told him at that time I would get a hold of some contacts and see what we could do. And that, worked out all right. And in the end of the day, mostly because of the Power Corporation, NSPC, and because of the work of Rhiannon upstairs in our internet office. She worked, Mr. Stewart's partner very much wanted this high-speed internet as quickly as she could get it. And I talked to her on the phone, and so did Rhiannon. So we were trying very hard to not only solve the problem with the Power Corporation, but also to get the internet that she wanted. At the end of the day, we got the internet, and we got the service for his partner, but we also got the problem fixed for the Power Corporation. Did I say some things that were wrong? I don't believe I did. I was trying to let our employees know that perhaps Mr. Stewart could be one of those ones that's challenging or troublesome or whatever. I believe in warning our staff if I feel there's any reason for concern. And I think the emails from Mr. Stewart speak for themselves as to this person was going to make sure they get what they were looking for. And they did get what they were looking for, and I was pleased with that. So when I made the comment that, this was a win, because I didn't expect it to go that way. I thought we would have had a lot more trouble getting success with it. But we had a win, and it was all over at the end of October. I cannot answer why it was FOIPOP'd after that or anything. Obviously, somebody knows, but it's. I stand by the decisions I made, and I stand by warning our employees. And I will continue to do that. And I guess I'll say that if people don't see me fit to be the warden here in this seat, it's quite easy to remove me if they want. If there's more than 50% plus one want me out of this seat, then that can happen. Thank you.
that was not my intention. My intention was to find out what happened with the letter, because I think you're absolutely right, he had a problem and he got it fixed, and that's fine. I guess my concern was why after the fact was it void popped? Like, what prompted that, and we don't know.
No.
But then I have to admit, when I read the emails saying like he has a long history of being a problem and it was a win situation, I think that's a bad thing to put in writing from a council perspective. And that's all I mean, is that, I do think we have to be very careful what we put in writing, especially, and even what we say at times, because anything we say can be held against us. So I just think that from Mr. Stewart's perspective, there were some, I think, inappropriate comments, and, I sympathize with them, and that's why I wondered if we were going to apologize for that matter. It was not to do anything with your seat, nothing like that. It could have been anybody around this council. You just happened to be his counselor, that's all. And that's why I'm referring to it. I just wanted to make sure that we addressed it tonight because it was on our agenda. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments on that? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Back to you, Mr. Warden.
Thank you for handling that, Deputy Warden. Now we have a presentation from the Ship Hector Society, who want to bring us up to date on the progress on the Ship Hector, when it'll be sailing in the water, I guess, when we go for a sail. So we have contributed dollars, as you all know, from this council in the past to the Ship Hector, and they have a fundraising committee, I know, that's working hard on trying to come up with the funds and trying to get it in the water one way or another. So I'll welcome Ralph Heighton and Vern Shea to speak to us tonight about the Ship Hector and how it's coming.
Good evening, everyone. As the chair said, I'm Ralph Heighton. I'm on the board of directors with the Ship Hector Society, and I'm also the community liaison for the capital campaign, which is undergoing now to secure funds to rebuild the Ship Hector and get it back in the water. And with me tonight is Vern Shea, and Vern Shea is our project manager for both the ship rebuild and the renovations that are going on within the quay. So thank you for having us. I'd like to give you an update on our capital campaign. As Warden Parker said, this council has contributed to the campaign, which we're greatly appreciative of. And I believe in transparency, so I'm probably back here asking for money again, so no sense me pretending I'm not, but I also feel we owe council an update on all the things we've been doing down there. So, next slide, please. So our presentation tonight, I'll try to be brief, but I'll answer questions anywhere during the presentation or after the presentation. Vern and I will sort of spell off on what we're talking about tonight. So the main topics we want to talk about tonight, obviously, is the capital campaign. That's what we're involved in now, and of course, as most of you know, any campaigns, any capital campaigns can be challenging, and we've not been without our challenges so far in this one, but we're undeterred, and we'll continue on. So I'm also going to talk about one of the things that we get asked, and understandably so, is if we're out asking folks for money, what's to stop you coming back next year? And that's an absolute fair question. So one of the things we want to address tonight is our goal to sort of get to our goal is a sustainable operation to the best of our ability, and so we'll address some of the things that we think can get us there. We'll also talk about building a destination, some initiative we're working with Tourism Nova Scotia, bit of a seasonal update, and Vern's going to speak about the relaunch, which we're planning for next year, ship construction updates, and some of the other things that are going on. So next slide, please. So to date, we've been working hard on the capital campaign. As I mentioned, we've had the support of council here, and we deeply appreciate it. It's keeping us going. To use an analogy that John Oliver used, was it's not without its headwinds. So we've been working hard on this campaign. So far, we've raised about 1.7 million. We've had some setbacks. We started at the beginning of COVID, and things kind of derailed, And then this winter we had unfortunate news by losing John Oliver, who was our chair for the campaign. So we'll cover some of the funding aspects here. We've got that up. I know it's a little hard to see, so it's kind of hard to see, but we have, as I said, raised about $1.7 million so far. Much of that, obviously, I'd be remiss not to mention that Sobeys has been a major contributor to us by giving us $1 million from two of the foundations. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of the cost of what it's going to do to put the ship in the water as what we would call a movable attraction. So the goal for this ship is not to sit at the wharf, but to be a movable attraction that takes people out sailing, that lets them experience being on a sailing ship, and lets them experience that aboard a ship that's fully safety compliant and up to Transport Canada regulations and so forth. So our total ship cost for renovations is about a little over $3.5 million. So we still have 1.7 plus million to raise. That's to fully complete the ship. The ship will go back in the water before that. Obviously, Vern can talk to a lot of these issues, but some stuff can be done on land, but a lot of stuff has to be done once the ship goes back in the water. So when we launch it next year, there'll still be work to do, but we'll get there. I would like to point out too, one of the questions we get quite a bit about government funding is, we did receive, and you see in the bottom there, we did receive funding from the provincial government and received funding from the federal government through ACOA and through Community Culture and Heritage. I will point out that money is very much restricted to working on the quay and renovations, and we're not allowed to use any of that money for the ship. So we have a slight amount of we can use on the ship for interpretive stuff on the ship, but we can't use it in the construction of the ship or anything like that. So the funding for the ship comes all from private donors or municipality and so forth. So I just wanted to point that out because we do get questions about, well, why do you need money if you got this much money from the province or the feds? Just to point out that's earmarked for renovating the quay. So next slide, please. So one of the things that we faced in this project, as any major project will face, especially since COVID, has been substantial increases in materials for the ship. We made a decision when we decided to renovate the ship this time to use more modern materials. And what the modern materials, and again, Vern can give you specifics on this, but what the modern materials allow us as a nonprofit organization is to reduce our maintenance cost by 60%. So from a nonprofit, that's a huge amount of money. So what we've gone to is fiberglass over wood. The ship will be totally encased in fiberglass, but will maintain all the aesthetic appearance of a tall ship, and nobody will really know the difference. But it'll last a lot longer. It'll require far less maintenance to maintain, and so we think from that point of view, that's the way to go. But with that, as with any other things in the supply chain, things have jumped up exponentially since COVID, especially when we're looking at sort of resin. Resin has gone up 300%, plywood 164%, petroleum 64%. So we need these materials to finish the ship, so we have to figure out a way to pay for this. We don't have a choice. We can't leave a ship half done. So those budget increases have pushed up what the final cost of the ship is going to be. Next slide, please. As I said earlier, our commitment at the Ship Hector Society is not to necessarily be coming hat in hand all the time looking for money, but we want to have a self-sustaining program down there that we can be, as self-sufficient as we possibly can based on the tourism season. So our commitment is to become financially sustainable through diversified programs, both dockside, and we think that the operation of the ship and the ship traveling is going to be a huge attraction. People people can board the ship and go for sail in the harbor out in the Northumberland Strait. But we're also planning some other things on the site to help us generate revenue, so we don't have to always be dependent on, you know, asking for funding everywhere we go. We certainly won't turn it down, but our goal is to be more sustainable. Next slide, please. So our goal here is to transition the ship from a dockside attraction where you could go aboard and walk around to a fully operational passenger sailing vessel. So we think we can do that, and in fact we know we can do it. As I said, the ship will be fully compliant with all Transport Canada regulations, so we will, and we'll have licensed captain and so forth on it, but we'll be able to take 50 passengers, Vern? 60 passengers?
60.
So roughly 60 passengers per sail, and our business model would have us doing that 2 or 3 times a day. So we think that's going to contribute to it quite a bit. We also have the option for using it for corporate events. As I said, we've had some, you know, certainly major corporate support from Sobeys, but we've also got support from Proudfoots, from Scotiabank, and so forth. And I apologize if I'm missing somebody, but so we can do corporate events and we can do special kinds of events as well on the boat. So we also think that'll be something that's going to help us with that. And we also want to have sort of provide sort of training, like not so much necessarily sailing training on the ship, but we can tie in sailing training to the vessel throughout our season. So these are a few things that we're going to go towards, and we feel that we can probably generate around 65% of our revenue from that initiative alone. Next slide, please. I believe I transfer this over to Vern now.
Handsome looking fella there.
Yeah.
Really got
I
that
don't know how we
picture.
got that picture in there.
Along with what Ralph's saying, with the sail training, we'll be able to take students aboard. We hope to crew with some of the Sea Cadets, or if the warden would like to be a member for a day, a crew member, he can just drop a few bucks and out he comes and order a bunch of people
Is that
around
an
there.
expense? Is that an allowable expense?
It's very diversified what we want to do. And in addition to the sail training, with that part of it, we also get a boat building school that we're putting up. We have the funding for that, and I'm out for prices now on the lumber, and that'll hopefully start once the ship is in the water, because the ship is kind of taking up quite a bit of the real estate down there now. But what that'll do, we have a full program written up for that, and a business plan that shows that this will be viable probably in the second or third year. The first year, not so much, because we'll be trying to adjust to the curriculum and get everything sorted out that way. But what it will do, the boat building school in itself at that time, will start exposing our programs to the public. We'll be able to advertise. Plus, it'll give us a whole bunch of workers, because one of the programs is large sailing vessel maintenance. So all our maintenance can be done by the people taking some of these courses, which will save us a lot of money. So there'll be weekend courses for families to come. There'll be rigging, there'll be block making, cabinet making, sail making, everything associated with any kind of woodworking and sailing a wooden vessel. So that, it says 15%, and that's quite conservative right there now. I think that's going to expand into quite a bit more. The school itself will have an area above on the second floor for accommodations for the sailing crew and anybody taking either the sail training or the boat building. They'll be able to have their accommodations above that with kitchen facilities, the whole 9 yards. So that's definitely going to add to the site and bring people into the county. The modernization of the quay, we're getting ready for that. We've done quite a bit to it right now as far as the exterior look of the building, with new paint, new windows, new doors, new roof, solar panels that were put on, and the solar panels are a direct result, because they'll be charging the batteries on the ship. Our ship is going to be fully electric with a range extender, they call them now. They're basically small generators. If the vessel wants to go to another community as for an ambassador for Pictou County. So the inside of the quay, all the displays are going to be changed. That'll be happening this fall. The washrooms are started to be upgraded. We're going to have the elevator, so you don't need a quay operator. And it's the displays are to better reflect the relationship between the indigenous community and the Hector settlers when they first landed here, and what transpired then and up to this day. So it's just bringing everything up to date with a little bit more modern, instead of having to read for an hour and a half going through, there's going to be more hands-on and stuff like that. Just, it's going to be a really quite the display. Our company that's doing the work, we just got a final design again today for them, and like I say, we'll be starting work in the fall. We have done some preliminary work, our own workers that we could do in the reception desk and upgrading some of the displays.
So one of the things that, just to mention on the solar piece before I move on to this slide, that our goal will be, or we will be, essentially a net zero facility. Once we are operating, we will generate enough solar to power the ship and to run the site. So the whole site will be net zero. So we think that's, you know, in this day and age, we think that's a big advantage too, and is kind of getting us into the future that way. With the provincial money that we received, we were able to sort of use some of that money to hire a marketing person for the next couple of years. So we did hire Rebecca Whiffen, who is now our marketing and sort of / manager person. And so Rebecca's been working on this program here, which is the Community Museum Assistance Program. And so we've been invited to participate in this program. And so we're hoping that will work out. Sometimes that does provide some funding. So we're looking at all avenues to get funding to keep everything moving ahead. So next slide, please. So one of the big things that we wanted to talk about, because I think it's relevant to everyone here, is building a destination. So we've been working with Tourism Nova Scotia to be sort of a key attraction, and we're thinking that, you know, there'll be 6,000 additional visitors to the town and to the county in the area the first year that we get the boat operating. And so we think that's a significant increase in economic benefit. This is not just about a cultural experience. It's about, you know, Gaelic culture, and it's about our third floor will be dedicated to First Nations. So we're making it a cultural experience, but we also want to recognize that this is an economic generator for the area too, and we think that's important. We think it's going to be we get a high number of tourists from outside of Canada now, according to our statistics, and we think that's just going to go up. So we're expected to grow by 10% the first year, and we're expected our bus tour operators to double within the next 5 years. So that's our connection with Tourism Nova Scotia, and again, it goes back to the sustainability piece. We want to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can. Next slide, please. So for 2024 season, these are some of the things that primarily Rebecca's been working on. Creating local ambassador with season pass, so we're going to be able to buy. We've kind of developed an online ticketing system now, so people can buy tickets online. You can buy season passes for the site. Say if you have folks that are, you know, you live in the area and folks coming down for the summer, you can have a season pass. So we're working on sort of inclusiveness and accessibility with our renovations. As I said, the online ticketing system and online booking. So these are just some of the things that we're going to be doing this season in 2024. We're obviously can't allow folks on the ship during the work week because it's a construction site, but we are going to allow people to get on the vessel on the weekends for tours while it's still on land. Next slide, please. Back to Vern.
Yeah, so this is kind of neat. We're hoping to put it in the water this August, but due to crane commitments and there's only 2 cranes that could have lifted the vessel, we kind of had to shift gears. They wanted to postpone it to the fall, which really does not do us any favors by putting it in the water that close to,
Hurricane season.
yeah, hurricane season and winter. So I gave a couple of directions that the board could take, and one was to postpone it till next year with a crane, and still they couldn't really give us a hard date, which is what we need in order to, you know, bring in dignitaries and recognize the sponsors and everything. The second option was a stern launch for the vessel, and although feasible, it would have cost quite a bit of money. So the third option obviously was the side launch again, and must be out of my mind for even suggesting that, but anyway, that's what was decided upon. So I tore up some of the wharf that's already there, and lo and behold, there's the launchway still in place that we had put in 2000, and still not too bad a shape. So what that is allowing us is we're going to be able to utilize, tear the deck off the wharf, and because of climate change and everything else, the wharf now is sometimes underwater in storm conditions. So we're going to build our launchways, raise our wharf, and have a wharf that's suitable for the next number of years for climate change. So that's the plan. We'll be doing it during Carnival next year. And again, it'll be a side launch, and we'll make quite a to-do out of it and have a whole lot of fun, and hope it works as good as it did the first time. That's nerve-wracking, I can tell you that. And I have a route out of town, all planned already, just in case. So that's the big news. So it should be quite an exciting day for everybody around again. The ship progress, we're doing really good. Winter slowed us down this past winter. We made the decision not to work through January, February. It was just too much work trying to keep heat around the vessel and tarps on with the wind and everything. But I would say we're 99% fiberglass now. There's only one spot on the stern on the port side. The rest is all completed. We're starting to do the final touches on it now. We've got all the three new decks in place. All the rotten materials, of course, was gone. That was a lot more than what we anticipated when we started it. We couldn't tell anything till we started taking the wood out, and then we really thought we were in a lot of good shape, but that was again December, January, February of 2021, and then when everything started to thaw, we found a lot more soft wood. So we're now into construction instead of deconstruction, and things are going great. The fiberglass is working out really good, and we're starting to do components now, new rudders, et cetera, et cetera. So the guys are working all the time on the ship, and then when needed, they go to the interpretation center. So it's progressing really good. It could have went in this year, but it'll be really far along next year. The next steps to launch, the electric motors, we're in the process now. Everything is set with them. There's a lot of engineering to do with that, back and forth between Germany. The motors are called Torpedo, and Yamaha just bought them out. We have connections with Yamaha. We got a good discount on the motors from Torpedo. So like I say, there was a lot of engineering, because this is something that they never really did before, and they don't want to mess it up. So they're taking their time, I'm taking my time, and we're getting it so that this works great. So it's gonna be a showcase to Torpedo as well as for the ship. We'll be installing the steering gear components, of course, like I spoke of, the rudders being fabricated. The through-hole fittings, they have to go in before it goes in the water. And again, the completion of the upper decks and joiner bulkheads going on, the whole 9 yards. The shafts are landing here next week, so the shafts, stern tube, bearings, that'll all be going into the ship next week. We'll be starting that, and the propellers will be on the ship. So once the props go on, I think people will start saying, "Oh, like this is for real. It's not a composite propeller anymore to make sure it didn't hit the hull. It's actually two bronze propellers. The vessel will be twin screw." So I think things are progressing, and when we get it all tarted up In June, July, it'll start looking like a vessel. The cover will come off, people will be able to go on, and I think people will really see a difference in the ship since when it was taken out in 2020.
Okay, thank you, both of you, for the presentation and bringing us up to date. Sounds like we're moving toward 2025 now at Lobster Carnival time, which is a good time to do it. And people like those side launches, they're a little more exciting.
Yeah, they're a little more nerve-wracking for him. but
They're back for
more
him,
fun
but
for
exciting
everyone
for the
else.
rest of us. Before I open it up, I'm just curious, I think I know the answer to this, but, you know, you said that the government money, federal and provincial, was only able to be used for the interpretive center, not for the boat. Can you expand on the reason for that?
It's just because, well, officially or unofficially.
I think I know the reason.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
you probably do. It was just fairly prescriptive in the funding that, I don't know, I don't know if I'm being taped here or not, but I'll call it blue nose fever. But we haven't had a lot of success with government funding, either federal or provincial, to go on the boat. But they were fairly prescriptive in the money that said we could use a little bit of the money for interpretive displays on the boat, but we couldn't use it for any construction, any materials, that kind of stuff. So it was just, that's how it came to us, and we have to play by the rules.
The government got boat shy.
They kind of got
They
shell
got-
shocked.
But with the other money the money can certainly be used for the interpretive center.
Yeah.
But I'm going to open it up, I have a couple of questions myself, but I'll open it up to all the counselors if there's any questions for Vern or for Ralph on their presentation tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Be glad to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Deputy Warden Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. What kind of horsepower are the electric motors?
The motors are 100 kilowatt each, so that's 130 horsepower, direct drive, and that should push it along around. Well, I got Blue Nose scared right now. I told the skipper he better get that one off a sail, because once we get going, that's it, we'll blow her right out of the water. But it should push it around 6 to 8 knots.
So there's 2 engines?
2 engines, twin screw, yeah.
Thank you.
And 4 batteries, 4 large batteries.
And as far as we know, certainly in North America, and I stand to be proven wrong on this, but I don't think, there's no other tall ship, I mean, all tall ships are green, but there's no other tall ships that are being operated by electric engines, to our knowledge. So it'll be a first.
And we're also putting on the vessel, I didn't mention it, but we'll have holding tanks on the ship for both black water and gray water. They'll be held on the ship, and we're putting in a pump out at the dock at the wharf. And when the ship comes in, everything will be pumped out into our treatment plant so that there's no effluent going into the waters around here whatsoever. In addition to that, we're also putting a lift on the dock, so we'll be able to get wheelchair accessible onto the vessel. We'll be opening the bulwark up so that we can fit electric wheelchairs through that, plus a lift right on the deck that'll be able to enable wheelchairs to get up and then down the gangway. So this is all with the whole project.
I'm glad you thought of that accessibility, because we have an accessibility committee here now that's working
Yeah.
hard on those type of things, I know. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned that you are planning to use it as an ambassador for Pictou County. What's the range of distance you can go with it?
We could go wherever we wanted to. The only thing, our range when we're carrying passengers is limited. It's called near coastal 2 in various weather conditions when we're carrying passengers. If we wanted to go to Halifax or Charlottetown or to Scotland, we'd have to get a different temporary ticket from Transport Canada in order to do that. So just issue a
So you recharge the batteries with the generator?
the little generator, well, they're not little, they're 45 kilowatt, but yeah, we'd recharge the batteries with the generators.
And is it still sail capable?
Absolutely.
So you plan on unfurling the sails?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah, the reason for the electric propulsion, other than being, the main point of being green, you won't hear anything. So the boat will go like a bugger one way, right? Whichever way the wind's blowing with the square sails up. But to get back was
Yeah.
gonna be the problem, so we can just furl the square sails up a little bit. We still have fore and afters, turn on the motors, and you'll just be going along just ever so lovely.
Great, thank you.
We did quite a bit of work on that early on in our consultation before we took this track, just on how much that would take away from the experience, and as much as we can gain, and Vern's very knowledgeable about it and knows a lot of people in the boat building and the sailing industry, and they said, you know, what's going on with the sails and the boat will not take away from the experience, right? So it'll still be like being, well, you will be in a tall ship. But Vern said you won't hear the engine, so.
Okay, you have any further questions, comment, or Dave, sorry, I had you on the list too.
Thank you, Warden Parker, and thank you, Ralph and Vern, for the interesting presentations. All kinds of things you have thought of that are going to certainly change the very nature of the ship Hector and the ship Hector experience. Lots of good things there. You mentioned modern materials. Does that include anything besides the fiberglass over the wood?
No, the other thing that goes hand in hand with the fiberglass, of course, is the composite construction that we put into the top sides of the vessel. The vessel is all wood right up to the main deck level. The top sides, which is all the blue that you've seen before, that took a real beating over the years. So what we did was we got rid of the wood, we put a composite material on there covered in fiberglass, and then that'll be sheathed in wood. It'll be like a
So it'll look-
clapboard
yeah,
sheathing
it'll
on
look
the
like wood.
outside, and then on the inside of the bulwarks, it'll just look like hull plank. So, yeah, that again, that doesn't rot, it doesn't absorb water. Our decks, our main deck is all wood with fiberglass over that. The new decks are composite, but on top of the composite and fiberglass, we have Douglas fir. So when you walk on the decks of the vessel, you'll be walking on a Douglas fir deck, just like it was before. The upper decks are composite with fir on it, but all the deck beams underneath are all wood. The main deck was the original 2.5 inch wood with fiberglass over top of that and Douglas fir on top of that again. So it'll be a very sound boat. When you're walking on it, you won't get that feel of a fiberglass boat. It'll be just like a wooden boat, really.
Very rigid now.
Yeah, that and the electric propulsion, that's the only modern things. Better paint.
And the electronics.
And the
It'll all
electronics,
have
yeah, we'll have to have
update
that.
nav equipment, and all the
So
safety equipment will be on it. That's all state of the art.
You hope to put it in the water 13 months from now,
Yes, sir.
July of 2025. How long are we looking at from the time it goes in the water to the time that it's fully operational?
Well, if our fundraising goes the way that we're hoping it'll go, hopefully this vessel will probably be sailing at the latter part of 2026, because there will be a lot of trials on the vessel and inspections through Transport Canada, and we'll ensure that we're happy with the way the vessel handles and operates, and our crew operates the ship. So it'll take us the better part of 2026, the summer or sailing season, in order to get the vessel so that we're comfortable that we can put people on board and not worry about it. So our first operating season would probably be 2027.
And what is your planned operating season? Is it June to September, or?
Yeah, we'd start probably the latter part of May, getting the crew up and do their training, and then run right through till the end of September. 2 sailings a day, or special sailings like Ralph had mentioned. So that's the deal. We can carry upwards of 75 passengers. I said 60 earlier, and I said 60 because that's a bus tour. That's usually what they carry, is 60 passengers, but I'm trying to keep 15 open for walk-ons, so that nobody, if they ever come to the town, they're not gonna be stuck for a sail on the ship. That'll leave 15 spots for that, right?
7 days a week?
During the season, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to sail when the wind is
Sail
blowing.
when the sun shines.
Sail.
A little modification there.
These last few years, we've been getting a lot of wind, but it's gonna take an awful lot of wind to stop that ship from sailing in Pictou Harbor. We don't have the problem that Blue Nose has with worrying about people falling overboard. because our bulwarks are a little higher. We'll just give them oil slickers, put on the sou'wester, and fill your boots, boys. Away we go.
I was enthralled by the sail races on TV over the weekend.
Yeah.
Will the Hector look anything like that?
Flat out.
Won't go that fast, I don't think.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Warden. A few of my questions were answered, but I just got a few more here. How much crew will it take to operate this when it's functioning for tours?
We can probably get away with 9 crew members full-time, and then we'll supplement them with sea cadets, and then any sail trainees that want to come on. I was already talking to Mike Freeman. He was our master rigger back in 2001, and he sailed just about anything that has canvas on it. Hot duck, I can tell you that. Anyway, we've been talking about this, and we're going to have it so that most of the vessel, all the sails will be operated from deck level. So really, the only time you'd have to go aloft would be to furl the sails for an extended period of time, which we probably wouldn't do anyway.
Not very often.
Yeah, so probably, you know, at the end of the day, we'd probably have between 9 and 15 people aboard the ship handling lines, or again, crew member for a day, put on your gloves and away you go, fill your boots.
Okay, now I don't know if you have this worked out. How long would the tour be and how much per person would it be?
We're thinking same as Blue Nose, we wouldn't probably go any more than her, and I think she's up now to $95. And the tour would probably be a 2-hour tour. By the time you get away from the dock out past the light, and we'd just do the same circuit as Blue Nose, come back in. If it was a really miserable day, we'd probably just go up to the causeway, out to the light and back. So, you know, between 2.5 hours by the time you get the people on board, docked, away from the wharf, back and unload again.
And we're working on the business plan on that
Yeah.
too. You know, we kind of have to figure out our costs as well, and sort of, we want to make it accessible for folks. You don't want to make it too expensive that nobody uses, but we also have to generate
You have
revenue
to cover
from it
your-
too, right?
You have to cover your costs too,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So during the winter months, you're removing the ship from the water and storing it, where's that
We'd
now?
really hope that CME would become simply marvelous corporate citizens and haul a vessel for us, but if not, should just stay on the quay.
On the key.
Yeah, and she has to be hauled every 4 years for Transport Canada, but that can be extended by spells, and with the materials we have on, we really don't have to do any kind of hull testing. It would just be the shafts, and you're only using them 5-6 months of the year, so.
With the fiberglass, it's really, it could stay in all winter with the fiberglass. As
Yeah.
Vern said, if we can have a deal where we can take it out, obviously, and side launch it, or side lift it there, something would be fantastic, but, I mean, again, that's a cost that we'd have to incur unless it was a sort of a charitable thing, right?
Okay, one more question, and this is, you mentioned this at the start of your presentation, about coming for another ask.
Yep.
When are you looking at that? Are you looking at that next fiscal year or this fiscal year, or?
Well, I think we put a grant application in this fiscal year. I'm not sure if that's passed, if their decision, council's decision is passed on that. But we would take it this year, and we'd probably be back next year. Yeah, I think we put a grant application in this year. as
Yes,
far
you
as I
did,
know.
yes. That's, I
Yeah.
was just wondering if there was
Yeah.
another one coming, that's all.
Well, I would say we'll keep working till we reach our goal. I mean, I said, you know, I understand what you're saying, and we want to get self-sustaining, so we're not always back looking for more money. That's our goal, but I mean, but we can't get there till we get the boat finished and in the water.
Just one more question, if I may.
Yeah.
Second one.
This is in addition to that, okay?
Supplementary
Did-
question.
Do you ever go to the other towns looking for funding, like in Glasgow, Westminster?
We've never approached New Glasgow or those towns for that, to my knowledge. Now, I mean, it may have approached it before at some point, but not during this capital campaign. We have worked with the town, and the town has given us funding in the past, last couple of years, or last year and this year. It's not it's not working out that way, but they did support us a few years ago. We did kick around the idea of trying to go to the other towns, and that's probably a good idea, but we haven't as of this, haven't as of yet.
The town that didn't support you this past, was it Pictou?
Pictou did, I think that similar to this council, we had over 3 years, but that was a couple of years ago. We haven't gotten anything from the town of Pictou in last year or this year.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any, go ahead, Mary.
Uh-oh.
Trouble.
No. I just wanted to say that I have the pleasure of sitting on the committee that represents the municipality with these fine people, and they're hardworking, energetic, and determined. And I feel that they're working for a cause that's going to do great things here for Pictou. And I'm hoping that we can support them. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any, I'll just add a couple of my own. I guess one thing I sit along with Councillor Palmer and others on our grants committee, and we're always, as he asked about the upriver towns, I could see them saying we've got our own things to do, but we particularly when it's with the town of Pictou, whether it be the new library and the hub in there or various other projects, we usually look to be, on a par with them. So I find it maybe a little surprising that they're not on here with that. But I know it probably has come up for discussion, and it will come up at our budget time here. That's a little disappointing to hear. But I did want to compliment you on the educational part of the SHIP Hector. It's not going to be just for people that have the money or whatever to go for sale. But I think it's so important that we keep some of these trades. Our young people don't get a chance anymore to go to where they're doing boat building somewhere and see that used to happen all up and down this shore and the River John everywhere. And it's not available anymore, so it's easily lost. Sort of like the blacksmithing trade or whatever. So that sounds very interesting. Was that a separate educational program being operated by you folks, or is it tied into our schools at all, or public schools, or just who would be doing that?
What we're hoping, or what we are going to do, I should say, not hoping to do, we'll tie in with the vocational school. We've already had discussions with them over the years. This was also discussed back in 2000 when we first launched the SHIP, the boat building school and sail training, just that the town didn't pick up on it at the time for whatever reasons. And we had tied in with the junior high school to do courses for their students to come down to the site as well. And like I said, with the Sea Cadets, we hope to bring Sea Cadets in and start doing some training with the Sea Cadets through the Navy. So yeah, we'll be tied in with the educational system. Eventually, we hope to have an apprenticeship program through NSBA, the Nova Scotia Boat Builders Association. I know them quite well, and I know most of the shipyards in the province from my previous job. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting when this gets up and running, to be able to teach these skills and pass a lot of it along. And not only that, through our sponsorship program, this is why the corporate sponsorship, or yourselves, is so important part of this, and I don't think it was spoken to here. They're going to be able to sponsor sales, or they're going to be able to sponsor programs. So you might have a Torpedo Sail Day where they take disadvantaged kids out, or we're hoping to take seniors out that don't get a chance to do this. This would be a no-cost sale to groups of people that can come down and enjoy the ship, on various days. And this is where the sponsors can come in and give to the community. We're just not asking for your dollars. Yeah. You're going to be an active part of the community by providing these services to these various different groups. Right?
And one of the things we discovered when we sort of started down the capital campaign was talking to a lot of corporate partners, was that things have changed, and there needs to be more there versus just asking for money. So educational components were really came up a lot, like, you know, what are you doing for an educational part of it? And it had been written into the business plan, but we hadn't really promoted it. So we once hearing that, we also said, well, that makes sense. We wanted to do that anyways. So yeah, so we'll do that as well. And so that was sort of came back to us from some of the corporate partners that, you know, you should be adding some kind of educational component there beyond just the cultural experience, right? We said, yeah, no, great idea.
No, it is important, and I just want to mention a lot of the rural children in this area, of course, go to Northumberland Regional High, and they have trades and stuff there they offer now at the school, and it would be a good tie-in for them as well as the kids at the academy, for sure. You know,
Absolutely.
to have a chance to, might be something that might not be up a whole lot of people's interest, but for some others, it might be right at the top of the list, so.
Yeah. Well, we have like a shipwright working down there from Lunenburg. So these are trades that are, like you said, are disappearing.
Yeah.
That where can people learn that? But, you know, we still have boats and we still work on ships, so. You know.
Well, I want to thank you both on behalf of our council again for coming in and giving us an update of where we're at, and I like the sound of that free seniors program.
Well,
I take you up to that rather than the captain, you see. But thank you very much, both of you, and we'll certainly keep you in mind when it comes to, I know what your big need is funding, so.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you very
Appreciate
much.
having it.
Okay.
Council's permission, I'd like to leave a pin for everyone, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along on our agenda then, we have the business items requiring action. So we're going to start off with Councillor Butler and the District 1 Municipal Service Grants. Go ahead, Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Be it resolved that the municipality of the County of Pictou approve the following municipal service grants. And these are all in District 1. Lismore Community Hall, $2,000 for hall maintenance. Lismore District Recreation Committee, $2,000 for the summer recreation program. Kensington District Community Center, $2,000 for operating expenses. Kensington Cemetery, $2,000 for monument restoration. Kensington Community Action Group, $1,500 for startup funds for kickoff. Marcia, which is Mary Commish, $2,500 to install basement emergency door. Mary Commish Cemetery Company, $2,300 for maintenance. District 1 Development Society, $1,700 for our district newsletter expenses. Barneys River Fire Department, $750. Install an AED at the LBR gas bar. And I could like to add at this point, there was a question as to the accessibility of this AED. And the information came forward that this is going to be constructed outside of the building, outside of the LBR building. So it will be accessible 24 hours a day.
Good.
Barneys River Station School Museum, $1,500 replaced ramp at the museum. Sutherland's River Community Center, $960 for design of the center addition. Sutherland's River Pioneer Cemetery, $975 for maintenance. Telford Cemetery Association, $300 for maintenance. St. Andrews Cemetery, Edgerton, $1,200 for maintenance. French River Cemetery Society, $2,500 for maintenance. The Old School Cooperative Merchants, $2,000. This is market setup and maintenance. Thorburn War Memorial, $500 for maintenance at the memorial. And the American Schoolhouse street light, $40, which is the yearly cost, for a total of $26,725. I so move, and seconded by Councillor Dewar.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the resolution to do with the District 1 Municipal Service Grants. Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on that resolution? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote on that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Now we'll move on to District 3 Municipal Service Grants. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Resolution, be it resolved that the municipality of the County of Pictou approve the following municipal service grants. District 3, Bayview Community Hall, $40. Yearly cost of street lighted hall. Caribou River Community Hall, $2,800 maintenance and hall expenses. Caribou River Upper Cemetery, $2,500 maintenance. Central Caribou Cemetery, $5,000 maintenance. Caribou Island Cemetery, $500 maintenance. Waterside Cemetery, $2,000 maintenance. Seaboard Cemetery, $2,000 maintenance. St. James Mill Dam Cemetery, $3,600 maintenance. Halliburton Pictou Cemetery Company, $2,000 maintenance, for a total of $20,440. Dated at Pictou, Nova Scotia, this third day of June 2024. Signed by myself, Councillor Larry Turner, seconded by Councillor Elliott.
Okay, you've heard the reading then of that resolution for District 3 municipal service grants. Moved and seconded. Any questions on the District 3 municipal service grants? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. And Councillor Dave Parker with District 7 municipal service grants.
Thank you, Warden. Resolution, be it resolved that the municipality of the County of Pictou approve the following municipal service grants. In District 7, Union Center Community Hall, $3,000 to fix or dig a new well. Forest Hill Cemetery, $3,000 for maintenance. Friends of the Caledonia Cemetery in Salt Springs, $1,000 for maintenance. Middle River Birch Hill Cemetery, $2,000 for maintenance. The Millbrook Cemetery, $2,600 for maintenance. Millbrook and Area Community Center, $4,294 for new stairs, exterior drainage, and a sign. A carpool lot street light, $450, which I note is 11 times more than what the other districts pay. That's the yearly cost. The total is $16,344 even, dated Pictou NS, this the third day of June, 2024. Moved by myself, Councillor David Parker, seconded by Councillor Mary Elliott.
So seconded.
Okay, and I might add that light in Salt Springs is probably 10 times as strong as in most community halls too. So you've heard the reading of the resolution for District 7 municipal service grants. Moved and seconded. Any questions on the District 7 municipal service grants? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Against, motion carried. And now finally, we have District 10 municipal service grants. Chester Dewar.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Resolution, be it resolved that the municipality of the County of Pictou approve the following municipal service grants. District 10, Thorburn and District War Veterans Association, $1,500, cenotaph maintenance. McPherson's Mills Community Hall, $4,000, hall maintenance. District 13, Recreation and Planning Commission, $4,000, facility maintenance. Union Presbyterian Church, $2,500, new siding and painting foundation. Thorburn and District Fire Department, $3,000, construct training structure. Thorburn Cemetery Association, $2,500, cemetery maintenance. The Mountain Cemetery, McClellan's Mountain, $3,000, cemetery maintenance. McPherson's Mills Cemetery, $2,000, cemetery maintenance, for a total of $22,500. Dated at Pictou NS this third day of June 2024, signed by myself, Councillor Chester Dewar, and seconded by Councillor Andy Thompson.
So seconded.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the resolution to do with the District 10 municipal service grants. Are there any questions on those ones? Okay, I'm going to ask one myself just to break up the stream here. I'm wondering about the construct training structure for the Thorburn District Fire Department. Is that just for that department, or is it for other departments? You're asked to answer that one,
I'll
Councilor
have to
Fowler?
look at the grant and see what it says.
No, I just wondered, they talk about building training structures different times, and I wondered if there was any word, if that was just for what type of structure it was?
I just can't think of it right at the moment, but I
Yeah,
will find
no,
out.
That's fine.
Yep.
I just hear them talking about building these sometimes for training for, okay, so we'll call for the vote on that one. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Okay, and now we're moving on to Councillor Thompson, Municipal Service Grant Transfer of Funds, this one is.
Resolution, be it resolved that the municipality of the county of Pictou transfer $300,000 from the operating reserve to allow for the payment of municipal service grants prior to the approval of the 2024-25 operating budget dated at Pictou, Nova Scotia, this 3rd day of June, 2024. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chester Dewar.
So seconded.
Okay, you've heard the reading of that resolution, which was added late. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. And so now we go on to the tax write-offs. Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the municipality of the county of Pictou approve the following tax write-offs. Arlene Robertson et al., 15440, number 108-62965. It's land on Highway 4. Mary J. and Edward Rankin, $515.33, and the number 029-16339, land in Thorburn. Alan Peter Dunn, $9.94, and the number 013-39044, and it's land on Little Harbor Road. Beverly McMillan, $457.17, number 029-16029, and it's land at West Branch. And Helen Fraser, $4.88, number 028079998, Sherbrooke Road, for a total of $1,141.72. The column on that is in the wrong place. Dated at Pictou, Nova Scotia, this 3rd day of June, 2024, signed by myself, Councillor Deborah Wadden, and seconded by Councillor Mary Elliott.
Okay, moved and seconded, and as Councillor Rudd mentioned, the comma's in the wrong place there for the total, in case anybody's adding up. Is there any questions on those tax write-offs? Seeing none, all those in favor? Against? Motion carried. And the next one's yours too, Councillor Rudd, on the drug concerns in Pictou County.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just a message that came out from former chief of the Pictou First Nation, Andrea Paul, and she was saying that before she left her role as chief, she had emailed all the mayors and wardens regarding drugs in Pictou County. And I think in particular there was a new drug she was concerned about, and that's Tranx Blue. And she hasn't heard anything, and that's mostly because she's lost her connection with the mayors and wardens since taking over her new position. So she's just wondering if there was any more updates on that, or where you are with that issue. I thought perhaps it might have something to do with mental health, but I wasn't sure. But if there's any update we can get, I would certainly pass that on to Andrea. And she would like to be a part of that loop, to continue being part of that loop with the mayors and warden.
Thank you for the question. I have a little bit of information on that. I attended a session about a week ago in at the Wellness Center, and it was to do with trying to help those people that have drug addiction problems, and I forget just what the right name was of the committee, Mental Health Roundtable, Harm Reduction and Stigma. And that was on May the 22nd, that meeting. And there was a lot of people there from the Northern Health Zone, I mean a whole room full of people, and not just the Northern Health Zone, but health in general across the province. And some of them I knew and many of them I didn't know. The mayor of Glasgow was there as well. And I'm not sure, there may have been another mayor there at the time. So there was an offer there from a young man that was sitting at the table I was at that he's going to send me his email and stuff. That he would actually come, he would come to the mayors and wardens to speak, but he would also come here to speak. And it's not so much talking about how do we get less drugs out there. We know we have an awful lot, is the truth of it. What we've been told, Pictou County has as high or more than any other county in the province. And we have something called Northern Healthy Connections, which runs out of Truro. And they come over here, I think, 3 times a week. And they're basically delivering clean needles and other supplies, trying to keep those who are really caught on the drugs, trying to keep them safe. And I know I'm involved with Viola's place on the board in there, and it's a real challenge in there for the people that work there. There's no doubt that anybody that thinks we don't have drug problems in Pictou County is really fooling themselves. You know, they're just trying to keep these people that are caught in this cycle, and many people get caught quite innocently, they're trying to keep them from getting worse and hurt themselves, and hopefully maybe, they talked a lot about stigma, and they said that stigma is a massive barrier in Pictou County, because, you know, if you're seen as a druggie or whatever word they want to use, then people just want to turn away, and they, you know, they're not necessarily interested in helping those people. They're wondering why we're spending government dollars to help people that are hung up on drugs, but yet we know how much problem drugs do in our communities, and we have some trouble spots with the RCMP, certainly out in River John and Three Brooks and other areas that are really bad, and that affects a lot of our citizens' lives because they're living next to these places. And so there's just so many repercussions, but I think I'll follow up on this meeting with that young fellow who was at our table. He was going to send me his information, I think, and maybe we can get somebody to come here and talk about, he said, until we address the harm reduction and stigma part of it, it's not just about suddenly getting everybody off of drugs. It's just not going to happen. It's a dream world. And so we want to do everything we can on that front, but we also need to be helping those people who are caught in this right now, and it's people's sons and daughters, sisters and brothers right around us. So anyway, that was sort of what came out of the last session of the mayors and wardens.
Pardon me, was there any special reference to that Tranks Blues you was referring to? Do you
They
know?
mentioned several new drugs. There's
Okay.
new drugs coming in all the time. That one may have been mentioned, but that's one of their big challenges is that people think they're taking one thing and they're laced with something else, and we hear that on the TV all the time about fentanyl and stuff. And you know, we don't hear in Nova Scotia and maybe in the Maritimes that, you know, we don't hear the degree that we hear about out west. We hear about how terrible the numbers are out west. Well, in some ways they're almost as bad here, but we don't hear it. It's kind of swept under the rug almost, you know, and that's where the stigma part comes in, is that we just as rather let on we don't have a problem sometimes, you know. But I didn't hear that particular name.
Okay,
It
so
doesn't ring a bell with me anyway, but certainly if, you know, if the First Nations community is interested in, you know, that information is widely available. In fact, if anybody's interested, I have a whole lot of leaflets here that they handed out. The language we use to talk about substance abuse is powerful. It says when you say abuser, they read it as I deserve punishment. When you say addict, they read it as I am a criminal. You say habit, they read it as that is my choice. Relapse means to them I am a failure. Clean/dirty, using drugs makes me dirty. So all of those words have an effect on those people who are really caught in this cycle.
I wondered if that information could be photocopied and sent out,
Yep.
probably
I
to all
can send it
councils.
to all the
And then I could
I'll
forward
give
that
it-
on to.
I'll give it to the
Chief
staff here and we'll
Police
get it
Department.
sent out to everybody. I just gathered these papers up because I knew you had that question on there.
Okay, and perhaps you can just kind of make a link with her at some point, as Warden said, Mayor said, I'm not sure if you'd want to do that. I mean, I don't mind being liaison to keep her informed of what's going on, but as long as I'm updated as to what's going on with these issues too,
We
right?
can make sure that it goes to her.
Perfect. And I fully agree. I'd love to see someone come to council and discuss that, the stigmas and what have you associated with her.
They want to get the message out, so I think they're quite willing to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that, on the drug issue? Okay, we'll move right along then. I lost my place here momentarily, but I got a written one here. So consideration of deferred business. Is there any deferred business for this evening? Okay, not seeing any. Down to community announcements. Is there anything that's going on in our communities that anybody would like to bring up at this time? I will mention, I mentioned it here before, but on this Saturday, there will be a flea market sale tape, including lots of horse equipment, at the Salem, what used to be the old Salem ball field, now SARA, the Salem Area Recreational Association. So that, I think, is from 10 till 3, but it's mostly to support that community as they're trying to get up and going with their recreational field. So if anybody's looking for a good buy and looking for a good time, then come out to Salem this Saturday at 10 o'clock. That's my ad. Okay, no community announcement. There's Don over there. I figured Don would have one. Go ahead, Don.
Yes, Mr. Warden, this Saturday is Oceans Day, and we are having a program in Lismore where we have a speaker coming in, and as well there will be a beach cleanup. So that's from 1 to 3 on Saturday.
1 to 3 this Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's Ocean Day. That reminds me, and I referred to it back when we were opening our meeting, about the D-Day celebrations this Thursday. I think if you want to watch it on TV, you got to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But just to think that 80 years ago, many citizens in this county right here, were involved in those battles, and many of them lost their lives. So unfortunately, Peter isn't here tonight because he's always speaks up in favor of the veterans. But I think we all just want to take a few moments to reflect how blessed we are to live in this county under a free country. We may not agree with everything this level of government or that level of government does, but at least we're free to make those decisions. So please keep the veterans and those descended from them in your hearts and minds this Thursday. So if there's no more business, I'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Good thing we had the Hector thing, or it would have been